The Indian Prime Minister Manmohan Singh is holding emergency talks in an attempt to allay international concerns about facilities for the Commonwealth Games. While some countries concede progress is being made, they're still to be convinced that it's sufficient to warrant sending their teams, and the Commonwealth Games Federation has defended its role in the construction process. Jane Cowan reports from New Delhi.
After days of criticism, the Indian government has bowed to international pressure. The Prime Minister Manmohan Singh calling an emergency meeting with senior ministers.
Well, it's obviously the whole situation has been very serious, and it came to a head on the 20th when Mr Fennell issued a press release and indeed wrote to the Cabinet Secretary to elevate it to governmental level.
The pressure's been building all day, with New Zealand joining Scotland and Canada in delaying the arrival of its athletes.
Things are looking just a little bit more positive. It's not to say that they're out of the woods. There's a lot of issues to be dealt with, but I think they are making every effort they can to make sure that New Zealand participates in the Games.
2 Canadian archers have pulled out altogether.
It's sad to see them go and not be able to compete with us. I mean, it'll definitely put a dent in our team round.
Pretty upsetting that India hasn't got their act together in time, and I don't want to be a part of living in that kind of atmosphere.
The Australian government is increasingly worried, adding warnings about poor construction to its existing travel advice.
And while security in India is ultimately a matter for the Indian government, we have also boosted the number of officials we have in New Delhi, and we have others on standby.
But having people on the ground is no guarantee of success. Do you take any responsibility for the mess that this has become, because you have been on the ground here for several years overseeing these very preparations?
Sure, not at all. And the reason I say not at all is because, quite simply, the CGF contracts the Government of India, the Delhi government, the organising committee. We didn't have the resources to deliver a Games. We have 5 staff total. We have pushed and cajoled and worked hard to get people to get things done here. You've seen the issues we've had been confronted with the venues on a long period, and certainly in relation to the village in May of this year, the Coordination Commission made it very clear the concerns about the delivery of the village and all the services. The alarm bell has been sounded on an ongoing basis, with due respect, both in relation to
without
all the venues.
Effect, though.
I beg your pardon?
Without effect.
Well, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink, I think is the saying.
A local newspaper survey has found 97% of Indians believe officials have tarnished the country's image with their handling of the Games. Most respondents believe India never should have bid for the event in the first place and think the situation is now impossible to salvage. The Commonwealth Games Federation President Mike Fennell is still waiting to hear whether he'll be granted a meeting with the Prime Minister. For the moment, he'll have to settle for the nation's top public servant, the Cabinet Secretary. With just 10 days to go, time is running out to convince the many doubtful nations that it's worth turning up for the competition. Jane Cowan, Lakeline.